How's it going, guys, and welcome to today's video. So in this video I am going to be priming these items here and painting them. And in the last video I spoke about the head unit and potentially replacing that and getting us around and getting that painted with a double din unit or a single unit. And I have decided, because I have to do painting today anyways, priming a wing, I'm going to get some primer on this and get this moving. So while I weigh up my options on that, and I have tried to source some double din units, but I'm not committed to anything yet, I'm going to actually paint this. Now, it was brought up in the comment section too about painting this, and I had ruled it out, but going back and looking at it again, the lettering here, here, and here, getting rid of that was my main concern. And the reality is it's not going to make that much of a difference, because you have all of these on the buttons which will still be there. So to make it uniform, to be able to put it all back together now, I'm actually going to prime and spray that and get this whole process back together, and I can revisit it with a head unit at a later stage if need be. What I need to do is take this cover off here, and it's very simple. You have a screw there, you have a screw on the other side, and see them little clips? And if you see them clips, you just lift them up, lift that up, and that comes away. I have the preparation done on all of this, it just needs a wipe off. So I'm going to do that head unit piece now, and then I'm going to go about plastic priming. And when I get to that stage, I'm just going to talk through the products I'll be using for a long lasting finish. Okay, so I have the cover off, and ideally I want this to be popped out, so I just have the plastic piece. So what I need to do is pop off this circuit board here. I don't know if you can just see in there, there's little clips that you push in and it releases. Alright, so we've got that removed now. And this, we have a little button here that we just need to make sure that we put back as well. And because these are so delicate, you want to be very cautious of separating this. These are all going to just lift out of position now, because this and all the screws was keeping it together. And it's just a case of making sure you know where everything goes. So these little pieces here, which this one had fallen out over there, they're just for the lights. I'll turn it over in a second, you'll see. But you can't really go wrong, because they're all numbered and you're going to fit them back in the same way. But take a picture if you're unsure, and just keep them all together. So I'm going to pop all of these out now, put them in a box separately, and fit them all back when this is painted. So the removal of that simplifies it for me. Just need to mask these two bits here, and I will be spraying the rest of it. So I'm going to push on now, do the same prep on this as I done on the other one, and then let's get it in for plastic primer, and I will show you what I will be using for them processes. If you haven't seen my last video on the preparation, the most important thing is to make sure that the surface is ready for adhesion when you do put on the primer. Never paint over a plastic directly with your top coat of paint, because it won't stick, it won't last, it'll just start peeling away, and you don't want that nasty flaky finish after a few months in your vehicle. So Scotch-Brite is like a wire wool that can be used just to roughen an area, especially if it's an area that has no scratches, where you're not worried about smoothing it out. This is Scotch-Brite. This is grey Scotch-Brite. There's red Scotch-Brite as well, which is a heavier grade, but that can very easily be used to just rough that up enough where plastic primer will be able to stick to it nicely. Also, you can use on a new piece like this 800 grit and just go over it lightly as well. So I'm just going to be doing that now, and the next time you see this, it'll be all ready for primer. I apologise for the noise, but the spray booth is running behind me. I just want to run through this very quickly before I go into the booth. This here is plastic primer. It isn't a build plastic primer, it's a new material plastic primer, as in if you were painting bumpers, brand new bumpers and stuff that you got, you would use this. This is the Standoflex hardener. I have plastic primer usually that matches this, and you can mix it. It's a 1-to-1 mix, but it has a build to it. But I'm out of that. So what I'm going to do as a consequence of that is I'm going to apply this plastic primer first, and then I'm going to apply, after that dries, my build primer. So this is the primer I'll be putting on top of that. Now this primer you can mix to what's suitable for you. So if you want to cover scratches, you'll mix it differently than if you want to apply it to a new wing or bonnet, where you can thin it down more. So that's the method I'm going to be using. It's still a very good method, and it'll work absolutely fine. I won't get away with it in we'll say one sweep where I'd be plastic priming and build priming in the one go. So I've got my pieces all set here and I'm good to go. I don't have my suit on for plastic priming. I will use that for top coat. I have my mask. It won't be a big deal because I'll be giving a light rub over the primer to smooth it down again, so I'm not worried about any little dirt nibs that might get in that. I'm also spraying a wing on a Focus as well, but I'll be plastic priming first. My gun is over there and it's ready to go, so I'm going to get into that now. So I've coated them now. This is a very fast drying primer. I won't have to leave this long, but I'm going to go out now and start mixing the higher build primer, which can be applied straight onto a steel panel like that. But when I have the undercoating of plastic primer on this, I'm able to put it straight on the top of that as well. I have my next round of primer all mixed up and I'm about to start applying it. That is dry enough to apply over the top now, and it is a 3-to-1 mix with 10% thinners is what I'm, so 3-to-1 being 3 parts primer, 1 part hardener, 10% thinners. If you were on this one here, I'll have it thinned down a bit more, so it'll be like 20% that goes onto that for a smoother finish, so you don't have to sand as much. And that's it. I'm going to get this on now and put it in bake and it'll be all good. I have them all primed up now. Gave them a good second round as well to make sure that I'll be able to sand out any marks that I find. That is it. I'm going to clean out the gun now. Next time I come back to this, it'll be all dry baked and it will be flat down and ready for main coat. I'm getting ready to paint now. I have my first round in the gun, used a filter, got a filter on top of this as well. Now I don't have a small enough gun to suit this, so one of my smaller guns isn't the right type of tip to get a correct spray pattern for this 3-stage paint. So what I'm doing is, even though I'll use more material, is using my good gun that I know I'll get a good finish on. With this being a 3-stage paint, for you guys that don't do any painting, it means we're going to have like a black base that will go down on this first. Then there's like an aluminium flake mid coat, but that flake changes the whole look of the finish, and then you come with a clear coat last. The first stage is that base coat that's going on now, and I have never applied this paint, so I don't know how many coats I'm going to be applying first. I'm going to go back and over until I'm happy with the overall finish. Another thing of note with this 3-stage paint and other 3-stage paints is the fineness that you're to sand before application. So you could usually get away with a 600 or an 800 fine, but it's recommended that you use 1000 and 1500 grade on this as a finishing sand before application. That's it. I'm going to start to apply this now. I've just applied my first round of base coat now, so the first coat that's going on, they're still wet in some areas. It kind of comes up silver on this camera, but I can assure you that that's a black base coat that's going on. The lights reflecting along here give it that silver type of look. But so far so good. You keep going over it until you start to get rid of all the scratch marks, all the fine sand marks that is in it. So you make sure you have enough of a base coat on before you go to the next coat. The next coat is a transparent flake coat, so you're not going to get much coverage with it. You should never go on to the next coat on these and feel like you're going to be able to hide anything. Whatever scratches are in it, you want to get rid of those in the base coat and be pretty happy with that finish before you go on to your mid coat. When this all dries off, in between coats, I'll be using a tack rag and air application and just rubbing off that, so any little dust particles I'll be cleaning as I go. Prior to painting, it was panel wipe and a tack rag as well. New plastic put down on the bench, 2 rounds of it to stop any dust blowing up, and I have taped that and them items in position so they won't be moving around with the air pressure when I'm actually painting. I have another coat just applied there, currently letting it dry off. What I do with any application of paint is the first coats are always coverage coats, so it's to get rid of the primer, make sure all the grey underneath it is gone, and that I have a nice even coverage right across it. The next coats, and this is particular if you were blending into panels, will be control coats, so that you're making sure you have a perfectly even coat, and then you're losing the blend into whatever panel that you might be blowing back into. I'm not worried about any blends on this job, but I will still be doing them control coats. Some people call them a drop coat as well, where it's just misting over it and giving that a nice even finish over the top. You're not so much worried about the inner areas then because you've already done them, so the face of the actual pieces you will be giving a nice even coat all around on. There will probably be one more coverage coat, and then I'll be doing control coats after that. The pieces are all dried off now, and I have the gun cleaned out, and I have my transparent or aluminium flake second coat, mid coat, ready to go on right now. So first coverage coat put down. And you can start to see that silver twinkle in it now. When applying it looks blotchy, but then as it dries out, it's super fine then afterwards. But this is where it's going to start to really change the next few coats. I'm probably going to put down 3 or 4 of these coats. I will, after every coat, see if I'm happy with it. If I am, I'll just go to clear. If I want another coat, I'll come back and apply it. I have enough of this paint to easily do 4 or 5 coats. So that's it so far. I'll check in with you after I've done a couple more coats. Couple of coats on it now. It's starting to look really, really nice. The colour is coming through. It's got that pop to it now. It's got that real gunmetal type of shine off it. And when clear coats on this, it's gonna look really, really good. I have one more coat to put on it, and it will be ready for clear coat then. Alright, so here we go. I got my clear coat and my mask over there ready to rock, and this has dried out. It's a beautiful colour. It looks really, really nice. It's gonna look very, very nice in the Type R, and I'm excited to get it back together. So let's get the clear coat on now and finish this job up. So what I do in this instance is I trust my gun to get on enough, and I just pass it evenly with a heavy coat. So what I do is 2 heavy rounds of clear coat and give it a real wet finish look to it. And that's the first round that's gone on now. But it looks really, really good. I need to give that enough time to dry off, and then I come back again and hit it with another heavy coat in about 15 minutes time. And that means that if there's any imperfections in the clear coat, you could always buff that out. You need to make sure that you have enough clear coat on, so even if you got scratches in this panel later on, you marked it up yourself. The fact that you have a high build of clear coat will mean that you could actually polish it down and take a lot of them marks out. If you're using an aerosol can, for example, you tend not to get a very high build, and that leaves it in a way that if you scratch it, you're at a much higher risk of damaging the paint underneath than what you would with a heavy gun finish like what I'm doing. Alright, I'm going to let this set, come back in, hit it with another round. Bake cycle is over now, and I just came in to check and see how it came out. It's a stunning looking colour. It looks really, really good. Bit extra work and application, but I think it looks amazing. And one other thing, in between coats, if you see the tune and mode and the volume, I had one layer of the clear coat put on, and then I pulled them off with a little flat screwdriver, and I had a second clear coat over them as well, so that it would look more uniform finish. And that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it's a little bit longer than usual, but there was just too much footage to get through, and I wanted to show in detail what's involved in this particular job. One other thing also, I'm going to be doing a video in the coming weeks showing the difference between a pro finish like this and a DIY job, and just giving people a feeling as to what is the real differences in them. So look out for that video in the near future. As always, this will be in the Type R project playlist, so if you've missed any before, you can easily go back and check them out. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you on the next one.